What's up guys, it's Demi-god, and in today's video, I want to explore one of my personal favorite characters within Elden Ring. How he came to be and how his very existence not only has ties to the larger world of the lands between, but his possible lineage to a fell god and foe of the Golden Order. Today it's all about the legendary general himself, Radahn the Starscourge. Of course, there will be spoilers in this video regarding this character and such, so please be aware. Anyway, now let's begin exploring the Red Lion and the unbelievable will of the greatest demigod of them all. Radahn was born to King Radahn, the male side of Marika, and Queen Rennala, the Carrion Queen of the Moon and leader of Rhea Lucaria's Academy of Magic. Radahn saw the first Elden Lord Godfrey as a hero and wished to measure up to the might and prowess of Marika's first husband by training himself to become the greatest warrior of the lands between. Radahn revered Godfrey so much that he even fashioned his general armor to honor Godfrey. Radahn's lion armor set states, armor depicting the Golden Lion, worn by General Radahn. The Golden Lion is said to symbolize Godfrey, the Elden Lord, and his beast regent, Serash. From his youngest years, Radahn was naturally captivated by the Lord of the Battlefield. Radahn would end up making a name for himself in his early years as being a hero of great strength, even learning to fight on horseback by riding his trusty steed known as Leonard. Yes, his horse's name is actually Leonard. It's in the game's data files. I'm being totally serious here. Eventually, Radahn grew larger and larger until he was a towering man of muscle and bravado, but Radahn didn't want to reject his horse. So Radahn went and learned the ways of gravity magic from an Alabaster Lord. For those unaware of what an Alabaster Lord is, I'll refer to the sword called Alabaster Lord's Sword, which states, a race of ancients with skin of stone who were said to have risen to life when a meteor struck long ago. So Radahn would learn the power he would eventually use to combat the stars from the very beings born from its source. Another example of the irony of Elden Ring's lore, such as Malenia learning how to wield a blade from the very swordsman that sealed the Scarlet Rot, that she would become a vessel for herself. It's an interesting thing to realize, I would say. Radahn would learn the ways of gravity magic so he could ride his steed without crushing it, which is wholesome as hell, and I love it. It's somewhat intentional or unintentionally hilarious to see a massive Hulk-like being riding a pathetic donkey-like horse, but you know what? It's great. I love Radahn and his goofy horse. But this mastery over gravity magic will go further, with Radahn having a pair of colossal swords made to combine both his admiration of Godfrey along with that of his alabaster teacher, called the Starscourge Greatsword, which states, curved great swords of black steel wielded by General Radahn. A pair of weapons decorated with a lion motif. Radahn earned considerable renown as the Starscourge in his youth, and it is said that it was during this time he engraved the gravity crest upon these blades. Eventually, Radahn's father Radahn would return to Marika's side, and the communion resulted in Radahn and his two siblings, Ranni and Rykard, being elevated to demigod status. Radahn was now older, wiser, and proven to be one of the greatest warriors in the lands between, as he lorded over the lands of the Caelid wilds from his fortress, Redmane Castle. Until one day, Radahn's sister Ranni, in secret, devised a plan and with her assassins killed the favored son of Queen Marika, Godwyn the Golden. This event was known as the Night of the Black Knives, and Queen Marika, in her anguish, shattered the Elden Ring, leading to an all-out war between the remaining family members of Marika, Radahn, and Rennala. The shattering war raged across the land, claiming the lives of countless citizens and warriors, and when every single demigod rushed to claim the seat of power and the shards of the Elden Ring, the armies raised by each side would fall in spectacular displays of blood and damnation, until only two heirs to the Elden Ring remained, and that sick, twisted irony that permeates throughout the royal lineage would again show its face. In the Battle of Aeonia within the Caelid Wilds, Radahn would have to face none other than his half-sister Malenia in mortal combat in order to determine which demigod would become the next eternal ruler of the lands between. In the Battle of Aeonia, Radahn matched his half-sister at every turn until eventually Malenia, who was was revered for being undefeated, would finally meet her match against her towering behemoth of a half-brother, and in a desperate attempt to secure victory, Malenia gave into her scarlet curse and injected Radahn with the scarlet rot, which led to the destruction of Caelid as well as the downfall of Radahn. The shattering would end, but no demigod would really claim victory in the end. Every army had been decimated, their lords scattered, and Radahn would eventually be left to wander the Caelid wilds, being eaten from the inside out from the rot his sister had bore into him for the rest of eternity. It should be stated that during all of this, Radahn had been holding the very stars and meteors surrounding the planet in place with his immense control over gravitational magic. This incredible feat would shield the planet from any threats outside, like the falling star beasts or whatever eldritch Lovecraftian alien-like beings wish to enter the lands between. It should also be said that Radahn was called the Starscourge during his youth, meaning he challenged the stars prior to the shattering, which leads me to believe that Radahn was responsible for protecting the lands between from the alien-like beings from the stars, as well as the underground civilization of Nokron and the Nox people, which is a kingdom where beings like the Alabaster Lords originate from due to the influence of the void from beyond the planet. Likely his name Starscourge came from both his eventual stranglehold on the stars, as well as being a slayer of all void-born creatures that fell from the sky or were rising from the depths of Nokron. Of course, I can't prove this part, but him being given the title prior to the shattering has me believing this is the case. The other reason Radahn held the stars in place may have to do with the fact that Radahn was disgusted by his sister Ranni and her involvement with the assassination of Godwyn with the Black Knives, and Radahn may have known or found out about Ranni's connection to the moon, and to stop Ranni from furthering her plans, which were the catalyst to the shattering to begin with, Radahn challenged the stars by holding them in place so Ranni could never fulfill her destiny. This is likely the case since in order to progress Ranni's questline, you have to kill Radahn so that the way to Nokron is opened. So I like to think that this is why Radahn became the Starscourge, but once Radahn's ruined self is finally laid to rest by the Tarnished during a festival his very own soldiers created to give Radahn an honorable death, which was Radahn's final wish, his hold over the stars was finally released, and the agents of the moon and the alien beings from beyond were now able to infiltrate the lands between. So in a way, Radahn was actually a hero in the end. And the fact that his literal insides were eating him and he was still able to hold back the stars themselves this whole time, not to mention that if Malenia hadn't used her scarlet rot, Radahn would have certainly become the eternal king of the greater will and succeeded his stepmother Queen Marika in becoming the new ruler of the lands between. It is safe to say that General Radahn was the greatest warrior and the strongest demigod of them all, and it's not even remotely close. Just imagine if we got to fight Radahn somehow one day at his full power pre-Scarlet Rot. That would be insane. But now I want to speak about a theory of mine regarding Radahn and his lineage, and my theory that Radahn may be part fire giant in some way. Let me explain. After Marika ordered the genocide of the Fire Giants with Godfrey leading the crusade, the Fire Giants would end up cursing Marika's male counterpart Radahn with the Fire Giant's curse, turning Radagon's hair blood red, which is a color unique to the Fire Giants themselves. Radahn hated that his hair was red because of this, but likely this curse went beyond just aesthetic reasons. Because when you think about it, Radahn too had red hair from birth, and with his father being Radahn, this led to Radahn actually liking his hair. It's stated by Radahn's red mane helm that Helm of the Golden Lion with flowing red hair, worn by General Radahn. Radahn inherited the furious flaming red hair of his father Radahn and is fond of its heroic implications. I was born a champion's cub, now I am the lord of the battlefield's lion. Not to mention that Radahn is the only child of Radahn and Rennala to have this red hair, but that Radahn, out of all the demigods, grew naturally to borderline giant-like status, has me believe that Radahn had inherited the curse of his father from the fire giants that were killed all those years ago, and that in the end the fire giants lived on in a way through the great general, and it haunted Radahn for the rest of his troubled life. I mean, Radahn's fortress is literally called Redmane Castle, so Radahn is clearly proud of his red hair. Of course, that's just a theory of mine and I can't prove it 100%, but it is peculiar that Radahn is indeed a gigantic red-haired behemoth like the fire giants of the mountaintops. Let me know what you think of this theory in the comments below, and I'm aware Radagon's other child Malenia also has red hair, but I plan to dive deeper into this curse theory in a future video about Radahn, so I'll leave it at that for now. But in the end, Radahn died an honorable death. He was the mightiest demigod of them all, he challenged the stars and won, he became the mightiest warrior in all the Caelid wilds, and had it not been for the desperate final act of his half-sister, Radahn would have inherited the Elden Ring and likely had ushered in an age of glory as the mightiest ruler the lands between had ever seen. But like every age of lords and kingdoms, they must one day come to an end, and that, my friends, is the story of the legendary Starscourge known as General Radahn. May he and his trusty steed Leonard rest in peace. Well guys, that's the story of Radahn and his incredible feats within Elden Ring. What do you think of him? Let me know in the comments. I also found Radahn's boss fight to be one of the greatest moments in the game as well. I love the spectacle of rushing him with fellow heroes as they fall helplessly to the power of the Red Lion. Radahn is so cool. I just love this guy. I really do hope FromSoft finds a way to Artorias of the Abyss their way into an expansion where we can find Radahn in his prime, because that would be so cool. But anyways, thanks for watching everyone. Please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing the video to give my life meaning. And thanks to my patrons as always for their continued support. It means a lot. And also thank you for 4,000 plus subscribers. That is literally insane. I'm still processing that, so thank you. And I'm in Demi-god. I'll see you in the next one. Let me know what you want to see next. Have a good one.